Judge not, lest you be judged. That's where my mind is right now. Judgmentalism. I was listening to August Bradley talking in a video last night, and as part of the Notion Life Design course, and he was basically saying the things that I've talked about before, the sorts of things I think about a lot, which was to do with identity sculpting and mindset, and about how to become the person you want to be rather than believing yourself to be the person you are. Does that sound a bit cryptic? It did to me as well. The idea is that we have a narrative in our heads that tells us stories, and we believe those stories, and they become truth as we perceive it. So you might say to yourself, I'm no good at maths, just as an example. And so anytime a mathematical problem arises, you're just like, that's not for me. That's what Carol Dweck calls the fixed mindset. So this is a book that I picked up from August's recommendation, Mindset by Carol Dweck. She goes into the differences between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. The first one believes the narrative and doesn't progress. That's the fixed mindset. And the growth mindset sees failures and challenges as opportunities for growth. So in that instance, I wouldn't say to myself, I'm not a maths guy. I would say to myself, I wonder how you do that. And I would do a bit of research, and you never know, I might solve the problem. So how does that tie into judgmentalism? Well, it ties into the idea that we believe the narratives in our brain, and for years and years and years through life I've been very judgmental. You know, I think back to me and my group of friends when we were at school. We used to talk about the punters, which was the general public. Oh, we also called them the general public, but we talked about them in a disparaging way, like we were better than they. And you know, my pal even had a great cartoon he used to draw called Punter Buster. I mean, you can get the idea, right? And so that's the kind of framework that I've had in my head all through life, and it's not something I'm proud of. It's not something I'm happy about. And so part of what I feel was missing from me, the part of me that made me feel that I had to drink in order to fit in, it's tied quite deeply into my mindset and my framework, my way of being, you know. Scared of social occasions, you know, fearful of crowds, feeling like I didn't fit in, and then having some alcohol and then being like, actually, I do enjoy human interaction. And I mean, this is a fairly recent discovery for me, is that I do really enjoy human interaction. I enjoy conversation. I enjoy one-on-one or one to a few. I don't particularly enjoy crowd situations, but in a crowd situation, say at a party, you know, I'll usually end up with a couple of people anyway. And you know, as I'm growing into a growth mindset, I'm starting to be less fearful of striking up conversations with strangers. I'm starting to think of people with love in my heart, rather than seeing everyone else as the enemy, which is kind of how I roll. You know, like up here, for example, this is my place to come because I never meet anyone. And today when I got to the top of the hill, there was somebody walking along the track, and I was like, in my head, my default thought was, what's he doing here? This is my place. But then I turned it around. I deliberately, purposefully did this. I thought to myself, wonder what that guy's story is. It'd be quite interesting to talk to him and find out why he's here and what he's doing. And, you know, we might end up being besties. I didn't do it. I did say hello and smiled, and he smiled back. That was a win in itself. But I did manage to acknowledge the default thought patterns, stop them in their tracks, and then switch that thought pattern into something much more positive. And that's, I believe, why they call it a practice. It's something I have to practice. I mean, it's kind of like the 12th step in AA. We practice these principles in all our affairs. In other words, you practice all of the tenets of the 12 steps, and your life improves immeasurably. So if I can find a way of practicing this in all occasions, if I am able to stop being judgmental as a default behaviour pattern, then perhaps the anxiety that I feel about being judged will start to decrease. And this has been a big part of my life this week, because I got asked to go and play a gig, which I knew was going to happen at some point. I have actually talked about it on camera before, wondering what my response would be when the question finally came, do you want to come and do a gig? And it happened. And as usual, I ignored the question for a couple of days, pretended it wasn't there, wished that there was some way of hiding my head in the sand. But, you know, I pondered it, I went both ways, and eventually I found a moment when I was really happy and feeling fearless, which was when I was dancing to music in the kitchen, 80s music. And at that moment I picked up my phone and I said, yeah, sure. And then started to freak out. It's like, oh God, what have I done? Now, the issue here is that I love playing music. It's something I want to do. It's not like an exam, for example, where it's something you have to do but you don't really want to. You know what I mean? This is something I do want to do. So this week I was actually thinking about contacting my doctor and talking to him about, or her, about beta blockers, because John Roderick had brought this up in his podcast last week, where he shared about how anxiety has been part of his life, and to get rid of that feeling of butterflies, he ended up on beta blockers, which is a path I've gone down before. And in that instance, I mean, this is something that I've come to understand as I've just been thinking about it this week, but when I was first diagnosed with depression, it came about through anxiety. That was kind of the route into the depression, which was through having to do a presentation on Russian literature, which is not something I really wanted to do. So fear of public speaking, I think, is, you know, probably the number one biggest fear in the world. And that ended up with me on antidepressants for the first time. And this week, I've been kind of feeling that as well, particularly in the mornings when I wake up. It's like not wanting to get up and face the day, feeling that darkness. And, you know, there's that brief moment when I don't remember that I've got a gig coming up, and then it comes to me. So it's on my mind. So I didn't call the doctor yesterday. I haven't called the doctor today. I've been watching August Bradley's content where he talks about mindset, and I've been preparing. I've been doing live streams. Last night, the night before, I did a live stream on YouTube and Facebook and enjoyed playing the music. I enjoyed seeing people come into the comments and, you know, a bit of bit of banter went down, which was really, really nice. And when I finished and went to bed, I felt good. And this is what music does for me. It makes me feel good. And sharing music is, it's just a privilege, you know. And I know this, I've been through this many, many times. I always feel low-level anxiety when I've got a gig coming up. And I deal with it by using mantras. You know, I'll tell myself that playing music is a privilege, that the venue obviously like me well enough to book me because I've played in the same venue many, many times. I have no reason to be fearful, and if I am fearful, it will affect my performance in a negative way. I just have to allow the music to take me and go with me where it will. You know, so that's how I deal with the low-level anxiety. But now, because I haven't played since February 2020 maybe, I don't even remember, certainly before March anyway, before lockdown 1. It's been such a long time that, you know, the low-level anxiety has become mid to high level, which is not a great feeling. It's not a feeling that I enjoy at all. But so far I've managed not to seek the medication route, which is not really a route I want to take, if I'm honest. You know, I've done that before. I know it can work, but I know there are other ways, there are better ways. One of which is to talk about it on camera here and publish it. That helps me, and hopefully it could help other people who watch this as well. People who are dealing with performance anxiety or any other kind of anxiety that, you know, meditation and mindfulness. These are words that are much more important to me now at this stage in my life. I still haven't read Eckhart Tolle's book though, the book that I bought when I first got into AA, so we're talking 2005, 2006. That's how long I've had The Power of Now on my shelf. I still haven't read it. Maybe I should make that a priority this week. In fact, maybe I'll go home from this dog walk and get the book off the shelf. I think I will. Because, yeah, the anxiety is real, but I can turn it into something positive by using mindset techniques, mindfulness, and hopefully somehow turn that anxiety into excitement, you know, so that I get to share my music with other people. You know, what bigger privilege is there? And I watch my daughter, you know, my fearless daughter, going for auditions, going up on, well, she's not been up on stage for probably as long as I have, but she doesn't freak out about auditions or recording sessions. She just does it, you know. So I get inspiration from that, just watching my 17-year-old just do the thing, you know, no overthinking, just do the thing. And excel, you know. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. But first of all, I'm going to pick a bramble. I'm going to eat it. Oh, that's really nice. Bramble season in Scotland is nice. Clover the Bassett's enjoying it. She eats them right off the bush. Leaves the red ones, just eats the black ones. And she's having a lovely time out here this afternoon, as am I. So, yeah, I'm going to go home. I'm going to read a little bit of Eckhart Tolle. And then I'm going to play some guitar, do some more prep, and be loving and kind to myself and to my family and to anybody else that I just happen to walk past. That's what I'm going to do today, and I recommend that you do the same, because it's going to make you feel a whole lot better. Thanks for watching. I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye for now.